context of our Sanctity of Life service. This story is Pam's story. Pam knows the pain of considering abortion. More than 24 years ago, she and her husband Bob were serving as missionaries to the Philippines and praying for a fifth child. Pam contracted amoebic dysentery, an infection of the intestine caused by a parasite found in contaminated food or drinks. She went into a coma and was treated with strong antibiotics before they discovered she was pregnant. Doctors urged her to abort her baby for her own safety and told her that the medicines had caused irreversible damage to her baby. She refused the abortion and cited her Christian faith as the reason for her hope that her son would be born without the devastating disabilities physicians predicted. Pam said the doctors didn't think of it as a life, but as a mass of fetal tissue. While pregnant, Pam nearly lost their baby 4 times, but refused to consider abortion. She recalled making a pledge to God with her husband. If you will give us a son, we'll name him Timothy, and we'll call him a preacher, or we'll make him a preacher. Pam ultimately spent the last 2 months of her pregnancy in bed and eventually gave birth to a healthy baby boy, August 14th, 1987. Pam's youngest son is indeed a preacher. He preaches in prisons, makes hospital visits, and serves with his father's ministry in the Philippines. He also plays football. Pam's son is Tim Tebow.
Amen.
That is Pam's story. Pam was courageous. Pam prayed for the life of her child. Pam fought for the life of her child. Pam was willing to suffer for the life of her child. I want to tell you another story. This story is my story. And this is the reason I cannot attend Mother's Day services, the reason I cannot attend baby showers, the reason I cry with every birth announcement. When my husband and I got married, I knew then we would not be able to have children, and that was okay with me. At the time, I really didn't want to get married, and I certainly didn't want to have kids. But it didn't take long for that to change. And I began to beg and plead God for a child, for a miracle. 16 years ago, about 7 years into our marriage, I did conceive a child as a result of rape. Not exactly the miracle I was hoping for. After the abuse from my childhood, I had vowed I would never allow that to happen to me again. I was supposed to be stronger and smarter than that. The shame of it was overwhelming. I was not about to tell anyone. So when I realized I was pregnant, I confessed to adultery instead. You see, growing up, I had heard abortion is wrong, very wrong, except in cases of rape, incest, and when the life of the mother is in danger. Since my child was a result of rape, I concluded my child was not wanted. I thought I would have a better chance of keeping my child if I confessed to adultery. I thought just maybe my husband would forgive and accept my child, especially knowing how badly I wanted to be a mother. Instead, he helped me understand. We were homeless, living 4 to 6 weeks on the road in a truck. The time at home that we did get, we spent living with my parents or his. We had no health insurance and no money. We could not afford a child. Added to this, my relationship with my parents was strained, and I had been voted out of my church because of my marriage to a divorced man. I felt all alone with no hope of help. I made the appointment for the abortion to prove my love and remorse for adultery because my marriage was on the line. I was hoping against hope that I could figure a way out of it without losing my marriage and without losing my baby. The appointment was several weeks away. We went back on the road to make enough money to pay for the abortion. During that time, out of sheer desperation, I finally began to pray. But I wasn't courageous like Pam Tebow. I did not pray for the life of my child. Instead, I prayed for God to take my child so I would not have to abort. That's all the faith I had. It was a coward's prayer. Not long after, I became very sick. So sick, Mike thought I might not make it. But I did. And at the abortion clinic, I was called into an interview room with a counselor who was supposed to make sure I wasn't being coerced or pressured or forced to abort against my will. Desperate to find a way out of going through with this, I finally told the truth. I told her I had been raped. She didn't ask me who, where, when. Did you report it? Are you okay? All she said was, "Don't worry, we'll take care of it." See, they didn't care about me. All they cared about was doing the procedure so they could make their money. I told her about being sick, detailing all the signs and symptoms, and then I asked, "Can the doctor tell me if I have miscarried or not? Then I will make my choice on the abortion." She assured me the doctor would let me know so I could make an informed choice. After all, they are all about choices, right? In the exam room, by the time I understood what was happening, it was too late. As the doctor was about to leave the room, I blurted out, "Did I miscarry, or was that an abortion?" With an evil sneer on her face and a hiss in her voice, she replied, "What do you care? You didn't want it anyway." Those words will haunt me for the rest of my life. So much for being pro-choice, so much for being all about women's health and well-being, so much for it's your body, you can do with it as you want. The night I was raped, a man took away my choice and forced an evil deed upon my body. That day at the abortion clinic, it was a woman with a medical degree that took away my choice and forced an evil deed upon my body and baby. Would I have made the right choice? I don't know. I will never know because she took that choice away from me. Does that free me from guilt? No. I did make the choice to be there that day in that clinic. But it does prove that they do not care about the women who come into their clinics. All they care about is doing the procedure so they can line their greedy pockets at the expense of life. I chose to show you the video of the Morning Center, the maternity hospital coming to Memphis, because my trip to an abortion clinic was a trip to Memphis. I have often wondered if there had been a maternity hospital like that there, like the Morning Center, then, that had offered us resources we didn't have. Would it have made a difference? If there had been a sidewalk counselor that day to beg for the life of my child, would it have made a difference? If there had been a man there that day to come alongside my husband and challenge him to do the honorable thing, the right thing, to be the hero, would it have made a difference? I don't know, but I do know I want to do all I can to keep someone else from experiencing the pain that I feel right now. You see, a baby is not the worst thing that can happen to a rape victim. An abortion is. There were hundreds of choices and decisions that led up to that day. Some were mine, some were others. I regret them all. And unlike Pam, I was a coward. I did not pray for the life of my child. I did not fight for the life of my child. I was not willing to suffer for the life of my child. The pain, the shame, and the regret of that day drove me to call the pregnancy center in Tupelo. I told them my story, and I said, "If you will help me, I will help someone else." They connected me with Ann Reed, and she has so very patiently been walking me through the recovery process. This is Ann.